to Menopause Morph, your time to change. We're here to help you thrive through your menopause, bringing you experts in many fields to help you from perimenopause to menopause and beyond to become the strong, vibrant woman nature intended you to be. Hosted by Pauline McCarthy of the Pearls of Pauline, pearls of wisdom, compassion, and joy.
Hello, welcome to this week's Menopause Morph, your time to change. Last week we had the lovely Rich Jacobs, who has a lot to impart, so we asked him back again. He was very popular with all the ladies phoning in. I'm sure he'll be embarrassed to hear that. No, bring them on. His wife will be embarrassed. No. So last week, Rich was talking about fatigue, depression and insomnia. And this week, he's going to talk about gut health and balancing female hormones. So I'm just going to introduce Rich again for those who haven't heard last week's episode. So Rich is a functional medicine practitioner who loves helping women 25 to 45, give or take a few years, he'll sneak you in there, no problem, to overcome common health issues such as fatigue, insomnia and low libido. As a former collegiate strength and conditioning coach, Rich understands the spectrum of health from athlete to non-athlete. He became passionate about helping others holistically through his own health issues that doctors couldn't resolve. He now works with people all over the country, that is the USA, but if you ask him kindly, he might help you if you're living in another country, like Iceland, you know. So he helps people all over the country using his health detective skills to find the root cause of common health issues to eliminate symptoms for good. So welcome back, Rich.
Thank you, Pauline. Glad to be back.
I love this term, health detective. You know, it's like I'm a detective fan, you know, like Poirot, Agatha Christie and CSI and stuff like that. You know, I think they should make a new series, you know, like The Body Health Detective, you know. So it's not on the dead bodies, it's on the living bodies, like find out where the rubbish is coming from. You know?
Yeah. I'd like to see them do that one in Miami.
Miami Health Detective.
Right.
So this week you're going to talk about gut issues and female hormones and the balancing female hormones. And like, you know, I'm thinking balancing, it's like on scales or a seesaw or something. So we hear this term a lot, balancing hormones, but how do they come out of tilt? You know, why do they need balanced? Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So, you know, the balancing of hormones usually occurs with the cortisol and DHEA hormones. Those are the stress hormones, and they balance each other out. And usually it starts with emotional stress, which can then cascade into dietary stress, which can then cascade into pain and inflammation, internal inflammation. But, you know, to get a little sciencey for your viewers or listeners, you have cortisol in one hand, you have DHEA in the other. And if you encounter a stress, typically a perceived emotional stress initially, cortisol will go up. Well, because cortisol is catabolic, or means breaking down, DHEA will also want to go up because DHEA is anabolic, or building up. And this is called stage 1 adrenal fatigue, or HPA axis dysfunction. I prefer that one because that's actually what it is, but most people know what adrenal fatigue is at this point. So cortisol is up, DHEA is up. Eventually, these two start to fall down, and because the body can no longer adapt to whatever stress they have going on. When these two become out of balance, or even start to lower where they're both too low, the cortisol and the DHEA, it's going to start affecting other systems in the body. Specifically today, we're talking about female hormones, sex hormones will be out of balance, and gut issues that can start causing autoimmunity or immune issues, specifically with what's called the SIG-A number, or the mucosal barrier, throughout the entire body. And we'll just keep it to those two right now, since that's what we're focused on. But initially, it's going to be those stressors that put the body out of balance. And people don't think of it that way because we're like, well, everyone has stress. Well, that's true. But if you look around, everyone has some symptoms going on as well, and they shouldn't be there.
Yeah. I think it went before, you know, before modern society, there wasn't so much stress in life, or like the caveman, you know, he like there was a tiger, oh, run away, you know, and that was a stress, but he didn't have like, oh, I've got to pay the bills, and oh, my kids are wanting me to drive them back from a party at 4 a.m, and you know, like all the kind of modern day rubbish that we have to put up with.
Right.
Yeah.
And these are all stresses we put on ourselves, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we could make a life with much less stress because it's all perception. The way we perceive it causes the hormonal response in our bodies. So even just sitting on the couch thinking about a stressful event has a negative hormonal impact on your body, just the same as getting chased by a tiger.
Wow. Uh-huh. Yeah, I read a quote recently saying that most of the things we worry about actually never happen. You know.
Yeah.
And but we suffer the consequences of all that worrying, don't we?
Absolutely. Our bodies do, yeah.
Yeah. My husband, he's always talking about the negative, you know, the corrupt politicians and the stuff, and sometimes I just say to him, stop. I don't want to hear that crap, you know. I just tell me a joke or something funny, you know, like something positive, you know, because if you just hear negativity all the time, that is a stress as well. Like you can't trust. I mean, like just now, you know, in the USA, there's a big election coming up, and here in Iceland we have a big election on Saturday. So like both countries, it's like, oh, and you got all this crap fed, you know, no matter what side you're in, if you're in the, no matter where you are, you have to be hidden in a cave not to hear some of it, you know. And it's
I do hide in the cave. I don't. I do not watch any of the news. I don't watch any of that because why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. I
It's
stopped
just more
watching.
stress
Yeah, I stopped watching the news about 5 years ago because it's all negative. You know, it's like
all the time.
Yeah, I just want. I want happy thoughts. You know.
Exactly.
So, Rich, you specialise in the age group 25 to 45, which is like perimenopause. Okay, 25 is not your average perimenopausal years, but there's a big chunk of that of women that will be in perimenopause who are still having their periods, and you're helping a lot of women with PMS symptoms. So is PMS, it stands for premenstrual tension symptoms of
Syndrome.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Why did I think it was tension? Premenstrual symptoms. I don't know. Premenstrual tension, maybe that's another one. PMT, you know.
Maybe.
Uh-huh. Maybe they call it that in Britain. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But is PMS normal? Is that what humans were designed to have?
No, PMS is very common, and there are even lots of drugs out there to help with those symptoms, but it is not normal. So PMS, like menopause, is an imbalance in hormones, specifically for PMS anyway, estrogen and progesterone. And when those get out of balance, most often caused by stress, that is going to give symptoms of PMS. And of course, I've had some girls or women at this point tell me that they've had PMS since the age of 17. Well, then you've had some stressor in your life before then causing those imbalances in your life, and they haven't gotten any better. And at that age, it could be emotional stress. Is it dietary? It could be. Some of us have early dietary issues, right? But it could be that inflammatory stress as well. If they took antibiotics, even one dose of antibiotics could cause gut imbalances in the bacteria, which can then affect the hormones because of stress and the balance between cortisol and DHEA.
Mm-hmm. You know, and your average person, they wouldn't, even myself, you know, you don't associate, you know, like if you've got pneumonia and you're being given antibiotics, you don't associate that with causing PMS like a month or two down the road, do you?
Well, it might not be a month or two. It could be years down the road. It just depends on genetically how your body adapts to what's going on. And I'm not saying that antibiotics are bad. If you need them, you need them. Mm-hmm. Luckily, we have that type of modern medicine that can help out with that stuff. But it's then correcting the damage that the antibiotics have done. Mm-hmm. We have to go back in and rebuild the gut because that's the source of our immune system. Yeah. To then make sure we're okay down the road and not causing hormone imbalance.
Yeah. I mean, you think that more doctors, you know, when they prescribe antibiotics, they would say, okay, a week or two after you finish your course of antibiotics and you've got better, start taking probiotics.
Correct. Go, and it's going to be a different strain for everyone, and depending on and where you live in the world, the probiotics that you need are going to be a little different. But I agree. It's unfortunate that they just don't know that. And I don't know if it's really their fault because they just weren't taught it,
Yeah.
or the medical community just isn't correlating the symptoms and issues that people have, depression being a big one, PMS can be a big one for a lot of women, to antibiotic use.
So you think that if people balance their hormones, then this will solve their PMS symptoms completely?
In a quick answer, yes. In a little bit of a long answer, we have to look and see, is there anything else going on that could have been causing that hormonal imbalance in the first place? I would want to look at the neurotransmitters, want to look at the adrenal hormones, want to look at the gut. Do we have gut issues? Do we have gut bugs? Are we detoxifying the toxins in our body properly? And so I have to look at all these different things because the simple answer is yes. If we balance our hormones, PMS will go away for most people, or at least reduce to not having a high level of symptoms. But what caused that hormone imbalance in the first place? If it's an obvious one, like an external stressor, like emotional, okay, then we correct that. But if that caused other issues, and I know we're going to get into it here in a few minutes, then we have to correct those issues as well so that the hormone balance doesn't become imbalanced again.
Yeah. I said, when you were speaking there, I had this image of, like on CSI, and they have all this, the usual suspects on the board, the pictures. And then I had this, there's the gut, and there's the stress, and like you're the health detective, and you're saying, okay, is this the bad guy, or is that the bad guy? And what's his relationship to that one? And, we get all the strings joining the pictures together.
and that's unfortunately or fortunately, that's what functional medicine is. Everything causes everything. So we need to figure out, what is causing these specific issues and figure out if we can narrow it down.
Okay. I'm glad that we have one detective on our side. So you were going to talk about gut issues such as constipation, food allergies, and bloating. And I have to say, I've put my hand up. I've suffered from all of these at one time or another. So could you tell us more about this? I'm sure many of our readers have many of these symptoms.
And those are just three that I picked out that seem to be very common, but it can go even further into diarrhea and gas, and it can go into a whole, obviously more stuff that are just fun words to talk about and say.
Yes.
But it's going to come back a little bit to what we talked about. So what causes those gut issues in the first place? Well, if you're celiac, that's going to be an easy one to figure out. You definitely have an allergy to gluten, and it is going to cause all of those issues and much more. If you have a dairy intolerance, that can also be in the same boat. What makes it tough is people who didn't have any of these issues and then all of a sudden start having food allergies and bloating and constipation and intolerances to things they never had an intolerance to. And, I think your listeners are going to be like, yeah, I get it. It's stress. Well, it is. It is stress. Again, it could be that emotional stress. And we'll dig a little deeper here. So if you have that cortisol to DHEA ratio that's out of balance, that's now causing an issue with the mucosal barrier in the gut and actually throughout the whole body. That's a mucosal barrier that basically will protect your body from external stressors like bacteria and viruses. And people who are very stressed out, if you think about those people in your life, probably get more sick more often than people who aren't as stressed out. That's because their immune system is breaking down.
Yeah.
In the gut specifically, and I guess I'm jumping ahead to a question that we have further ahead, you can end up getting leaky gut. And so leaky gut is when that barrier in your intestines, which, by the way, the digestive system from mouth to anus is a closed system. It is completely separate from the body. But there's that barrier in there that it's one cell thick that protects the body from whatever you're bringing in. Mm-hmm. Leaky gut means when that lining breaks down, that now there are other molecules getting into the body that should not be getting into the body. Okay. So imagine you have a tight door to your body, and that tight door just turned into a screen door.
Yeah.
So now that screen door has some holes and openings that are allowing things in that shouldn't be coming in. And what reacts to that? Your immune system. So now your immune system is fired up, and you start to see autoimmune issues like fibromyalgia. You had mentioned, I think, in our last episode. It's a very common one, and even intolerances to gluten and dairy and things that people shouldn't have been or aren't usually intolerant to, or they are now. Bloating could be a side effect of all of this, and constipation and diarrhea. So what causes it? It comes from that emotional stress trickling down. Now, I think I mentioned earlier, it could come the other way, where if you're traveling to a country, a third world country where it's not as sanitary, you might pick up a parasite while you're traveling. And that parasite can cause now stress in your gut and inflammation. Well, what's that going to do to a typically normal, healthy person? That's going to cause stress, where now cortisol and DHEA become increased and then maybe out of balance if that stressor isn't dealt with. And what came first this time? Not emotional stress, but it was internal stress or inflammation from a gut bug that they picked up when traveling, or from bad food. It could be even at home from bad food or sushi. Not that I want to point out sushi, but yeah.
And what about sugar? I hear a lot that sugar is one of the major culprits for inflammation in the body.
Yeah, sugar is very inflammatory. It's stressful on the liver, which is our body's filtration system, to try to get that out. Not only does it stress the liver out, but it also is stressing the cortisol and insulin relationship. In other words, cortisol helps to balance blood sugar. Insulin also helps to balance blood sugar. Well, when insulin shoots up because you're eating sugar, that insulin's trying to pull it out of the bloodstream, right? And so what ends up happening is now insulin shoots up, blood sugar is going to drop because it's pulling all of that sugar out of the bloodstream, and cortisol has to come in and try to bring blood sugar back up, okay? And what ends up happening during those moments of the up and down is now people get cravings, and they usually get cravings for sugar, right? Because the blood sugar keeps going up and down, and now you have these very big hormones, insulin and cortisol, trying to regulate it. And so sugar at times can be okay. It can be nice to have a treat out with friends, have a dessert with friends. But every day, unfortunately, all this stuff is very available to people, and we all get very addicted to it because of our stress, right? And we're already, our blood sugar is already imbalanced because of stress. And so we're grabbing more sugar, which is causing, can you see how it just keeps going around and around?
I mean, I have rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis, and it's usually been well under control since I changed my eating habits and many habits in my life, and I lost 18 kilograms. But occasionally I fall off the wagon, And a few days ago, before the other guy was telling me the tricks about the reptilian brain thing and the pig, squeak, squeak.
Yeah.
You don't know, but I have a company here in Iceland. It's a Icelandic souvenir candy.
Okay.
Like, sugar. No. And normally the staff are there and they keep me away from the candy. But this one day I was there alone. Which is not a good idea, And we had this new one that we're trying out, with taking to the public and doing market research and stuff like that. So the bags were open, and
they're just there.
And I said, I can't remember what that tasted like. And before I knew it, I'd eaten the whole bag. Do you know what I mean? And we're talking 300 grams, which is a lot. And then I thought to myself, it's only once. Tomorrow I'll be fine, But see, the next day, my hands were so painful. My knee was so painful. And then it brought it to me, and I thought, that was all that sugar that I ate yesterday.
That's a perfect, obvious example of how the body can be affected by inflammatory foods and inflammation. For some people, unfortunately, it's not as obvious, but you're very in tune with what's going on and going into your body, and so it's very obvious to you. Unfortunately, I get clients, patients who aren't thinking that way. They don't correlate the two, but you're absolutely right.
So now I have one extra more reason not to, like when I'm thinking of this pig and the slop, I'll also be thinking of the pain, because it was as if somebody, and because, if you have arthritic pain constantly, that you had for years, you don't really notice it because it's there all the time. Do you know what I mean? But when you've had months of really almost no pain and then to suddenly get it really bad like that, it's quite a shock, and I was looking for a bruise. I thought maybe somebody had, like sometimes you bang into a table or something like that and then you have a big bruise there, but I had no bruises. And then I thought, and then I was holding my book and I couldn't move my fingers, and I thought, I was doing my detective work, and looking back, what was the culprit? Was that 300-gram bag of candy?
And I have another client, or I have a client like you, who when she drinks wine will have symptoms that are usually never there. And I say that's fine if you're going to have wine, because when you're working with me, we're not eliminating everything. You can still enjoy life. Just understand that until you're completely healed, you might have to deal with the consequences of that wine. And, if she's okay with it, I'm okay with it, right? You got to live your life. And it doesn't have to be a forever thing. Like in your case, you don't have to avoid candy forever, but maybe just, correct all those imbalances first, get yourself healthy so you can enjoy it without pain.
But for now, I'm making the big white line, do not, we're going on the detective theme, the police line, do not enter police cordoned off area. What is it they have on that yellow tape? Something like that.
Yeah, do not cross.
Yeah. That's another mental image I'm going to have. Do not cross this yellow line.
Right.
I'm having such fun with this detective theme.
Me too. I'm glad I already got the website.
We should put on what's this, Sherlock Holmes hat and the pipe.
Oh, right.
Yes, dear Watson.
Maybe I'll do some headshots like that. Good idea.
Okay, Dr. Watson, he can work with you. You could have the headshot. You could be Sherlock Holmes, and Dr. Watson could be like your sort of alter ego, and you have conversations between each other.
Right. Like Dr. Hyde or Mr. Jekyll.
Oh no, you don't want that one. You don't want that one.
No.
And so I want to talk more about this leaky gut because I hear about it more and more and more. And I was talking with my physiotherapist a few weeks ago about this, and she had never heard of it. And so I think the more, I'm so glad that you're talking about it, because to me it is, I think so many people have it, and their family doctors don't know about it. So if people have it, or they feel that they have it, and they go to their doctor and the doctor goes, what's that? Then they should say to their doctor, why don't you look it up? And I'll come back next week. Or they can find a functional medical practitioner. I think that would be better.
And unfortunately, most doctors are not going to look it up, or if they do, they're not going to believe it. Yeah. It's getting better. It's getting better for sure. There's more of them accepting it. But if they didn't learn it, if there's not a double-blind placebo study to back it up, then they don't believe it.
And so, like, you had this problem yourself. So what were the sort of major steps that you did to recover from it?
From leaky gut?
Yeah.
The key to recovering from leaky gut is really, really going to be the lifestyle changes. Because ultimately what got you into leaky gut in the first place was stress and the hormone imbalances. So, for myself, or if I'm working with somebody else, I always like to use supplements first to help correct the issue and help people feel better. Of course, we're doing supplements based off of lab results and the case review intake form, so that I can compare the symptoms in the labs and make sure we have correlation between that. And we're just not going to Dr. Google and figuring out what works. So you get a program together, a wellness program and a therapeutic program, and the supplement program is essential to healing, but they really take second place to the healing power of lifestyle changes. So the supplements will make you feel better so that you can make those lifestyle changes. Well, what are those? So it's going to be nutrition changes. So what you're putting in your body is going to have a huge effect in helping to repair that leaky gut and overall everything else. So I know we're talking about leaky gut specifically, but just, listeners and viewers, just imagine this is going to apply to everything. Getting better sleep. Sleep is very therapeutic, and going to bed before 10 o'clock is going to be very helpful in helping the adrenal glands heal, which in turn will help the leaky gut resolve itself and heal. Meditation is going to be huge, but I usually don't start anybody out with that because meditation, even for myself, can be challenging, right? And so you really have to wait for people to feel much, much better before you introduce meditation. The other one is going to be exercise or working out. And that's going to be different for everyone, depending on how stressed out their body is, how quote unquote broken they are. And you don't want to basically, if you have leaky gut and you're in bad shape, to run over to the CrossFit gym might not be the best idea. You might want to do some light exercise, walking your dog, going on hikes, finding a friend group to just get out and walk and move initially. And maybe you can go to the gym and hire a trainer, somebody who knows what they're doing to get you to the next step. And then maybe 6 months, a year down the road, you can try that CrossFit after you've allowed your body to heal.
When I had this bolt of lightning and changed my whole psyche and gave up, and said, "Oh, I've had enough of being sick. I'm going to get my life back." Then I was crippled with fibromyalgia and osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis, and I was with walking sticks, and I was really big, and I just determined, I'm just going to walk, maybe it was just 20 meters, then the next day it would be 30 meters or something like that, But now the universe has sent me a dog to get me out walking.
That's great. Yes. You're great. You're doing a lot of great things.
I mean, there's been a few times in my life when I've actually went to a gym, but it's like a fish out of water. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, that can be very intimidating.
But I don't mind dancing. I was reading a book just now. One of our ladies I interviewed a few weeks ago, she has written a book called the 3 Orgasm Prescription for Women. And I'm reading that, and she's talking about her mother, and her mother was going out. Once a week she went out dancing, and this doctor was saying, that was her exercise program, dancing, so it doesn't have to be in the gym. You can do your salsa or your disco or whatever it is they do nowadays,
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
Just have to get my husband into dancing,
Right. Well, yeah. Yeah.
But I went to Zumba once, and that was great. That was kind of like a dance, but that was too much for me. It was like, I need to find a middle. Maybe I go to Zumba for kids.
Right.
Maybe that might be worse.
It might be, yeah.
So, basically, what you're saying is that with all these changes, we have to first change our thinking, change our diet, get rid of the stress in our life. Then we can be cured of this leaky gut syndrome and the PMS and all this other crap that we have to put up with these days.
Just like that. Yeah. It takes time. It definitely takes that. Where I come in is finding out exactly what's going on and helping people down the right path and giving them the proper supplements to recharge their batteries and start to feel better so they can make these changes. But I want your listeners to know that, these changes can take 6 to 12 months, and I think that's a relatively short time, considering how long it's taken to get to that point, and maybe how long some people, have felt horrible.
Well, some of the people that I have been talking with that have had really, really bad long-term illnesses are on the verge of suicide because the doctors are saying to them, there is no cure. You just have to suffer for the rest of your life, which is which is horrible, And actually, my doctor said to me, rheumatoid arthritis is incurable. And I actually went out and bought a house with wheelchair access because he said to me that further down the line, I would be in a wheelchair. And then with this day when I woke up, I thought, no, the doctor is not God, I'm in charge of my body, so I'm going to do something about it. So I think that the message that you're giving people today is really helpful for them, and it gives them hope, because there is a way to cure this. Okay, it's not like a one pill fixes all. It's not an overnight thing, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, isn't there?
Yeah, and I like to tell people, own your health. You have complete control to own your own health. And sometimes you might have to have somebody like me step in and show you the right path, but ultimately it's up to you.
Mm-hmm. So if people want to get in contact with you, could you tell us how they can contact you?
Yeah, so my website is myhealthdetective.com. And on that website, I've got a lot of free information, a lot of articles, and hopefully things that can help you right away. There's I have a 5 steps to increasing your energy on there if you want to sign up for that with your email. And then there's also a way to contact me or schedule a free appointment so that we can discuss what's going on with you and see if it's a good fit to work together.
Okay, brilliant. And as I mentioned earlier, you are willing to work with people out with the USA if it's possible, because not every country has the labs or allow these things to be shipped.
Correct. Yeah. Depending on where you are, I can do a little research, after we find out if it's going to be a good fit, and then I can go from there.
Okay, wonderful. So we're near the end of our time. So do you have any last words of wisdom you would like to give?
Words of wisdom.
Yeah. Okay, let's put it this way. If you had not 10 minutes. If you had 2 minutes or 3 minutes, let's say, let's not be stingy, to impart knowledge to your kids. Like, say you had 3 minutes, you were going to die in 3 minutes, and you said, this is the message I'm going to give you about gut health or something.
Oh my gosh, no pressure.
What would it be?
Don't sweat the small stuff. Keep a close group of friends and family around, and have fun.
Mm-hmm. Eat your veggies.
Eat your veggies. Well, yeah.
Oh, actually, I'll tell you something really, really weird, right? Like I was telling you either I can't remember if it was this episode or last episode about my husband. He's typical Icelander, eats fish and lamb, and potato is the only vegetable they eat basically. Oh, and red cabbage, pickled red cabbage. So he, never a salad. It's like, and every day we're putting salad on the table. Would you like some salad? That's for rabbits. He's always saying like it's for rabbits, And so we went to Bulgaria on holiday and had a wonderful 2 weeks. And in Bulgarian cuisine, you start with a salad. It's very traditional. You start with a salad. Actually, when we went there last year, we ordered the meat and the potatoes and the veg and the salad, and the salad came first, and we were waiting for the dinner to come, and it doesn't come. And we were getting really hungry. So we started taking a little bit of cucumber, a little bit of tomato like this. And when is this food going to come? And, and he was so hungry, he started eating it as well. And it must have taken us 40 minutes to eat this salad, right? And the very second that we finished the last piece of salad, they came out with the meat. And we went, what? And this happened in every restaurant until, after about 5 or 6 days, we started asking people, what's going on here? This is really weird. And they said, oh no, in Bulgaria, that's the starter is the salad. And then when you're finished that, so the waiters were waiting for us to finish before they brought out. And they must have been going, how long are these people going to eat this salad for?
That's funny.
Yeah. So this time when we went to Bulgaria, he was eating salads all the time. And I actually commented to him and I said, how come you're eating salad here, but you don't eat your salads at home? And he went, oh, they're different,
They might be.
So the day we got back, I put a salad in front of him and I announced to the family, Trygve was eating salad in Bulgaria. Would you like some salad? And he went, oh no, it's covered in dressing. And I said, that's not dressing. That's, it was the juice from the tomatoes or something like that. And he went, oh, well, okay. And he took it out, and started eating it. So I'm really impressed, and I expect to see great things coming from him,
Yeah.
So we can all change, if a stubborn Icelandic man like that can start to eat salad, we can all change our diets. And if I can stop eating chocolate, well, there you go. Your miracles do happen. So, Rich, it's been really wonderful having you for both of these episodes. You've been a great guest. I was going to say, like in English, you've been a jolly good chap.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on twice.
Okay, so, and just to remind people, if you want to get in contact with Rich, his website is myhealthdetective.com. And also, we have to tell you that we are not giving out medical advice. If you want medical advice, you go to your medical practitioner. And we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Menopause Morph, Your Time to Change. If you've enjoyed the program, be sure to subscribe to the next one and please leave a rating and review on iTunes to help us spread the message about thriving through the menopause. To get a free ebook, more menopausal resources, and to connect with Pauline, please visit www.menopausemorph.com.